So from philosophy to public defender, that is really a kind of a stark change. I mean, you're talking about uh, philosophy, which is very esoteric and about just general populations. To here's this person, and you've had these um, uh, some pretty severe cases as a
Yeah.
public defender. I'm sure. Um, how did that strike you when you were you prepared for that after you got out of law school, or did you see yourself going straight into being a public defender?
Yeah, I did. That was the plan, and I
Okay.
was happy to say that, that I in my law school application I put down I want to be a public defender, and that is what I ended up doing. And I did, so I had an idea about that, and that had been a long standing. Originally, before I got to college, I wanted to be a lawyer. That was my idea. I very much, you know. when I was a teenager, really became passionate about the US Constitution and rights and the dignity of people, and, being a champion for the small guy, and trying to protect those ideals. So being a lawyer was my original idea. And I did get to college. I really, got way into philosophy and really loved that. But yeah, I think there is a through line there. I think the philosophy and the law, they both are, they both tend to deal with principles and universals and, morality, and, on different levels of particularity and abstractness. But there is a connection there. It's certainly a big change, working on academic philosophy and then getting an actual person that's, really desperate for your help and in a terrible spot, a really dark time in their life. So, you know, you have to focus down on the particularities and the actual instances and very specific. So it really takes it out of the atmosphere onto the ground level. I wouldn't say they're the two most different areas in the world, because they do deal with that kind of, connection of fact and principle and morality and, law and logic. There's connection there. But yeah, the it's a very huge drop down from the ether of concepts down to the instances of a actual person that's looking to you to help them in a real dark time.